Alaikum. I am Javedia Aslam, and today we'll be discussing some really confusing terms: gerund, infinitive, and participle. When we have two verbs or actions in a sentence, the second verb will either be an infinitive or gerund. For example, in the first sentence, I like to go to school. Here, to go is an infinitive. While in the second sentence, I like going to school. Here, going is gerund. Participles are words created from verbs that are then used as adjectives to modify nouns in a sentence. For example, the browning fruit should be put outside for composting. Here, browning is the participle. We should always remember that with the word enjoy we use a gerund, and with the word decide we use an infinitive. Now, coming towards the basic definition of gerund. Sometimes looks can be deceiving. Jumping to conclusions about things can land you in trouble. This is certainly the case when it comes to words we use in English. Take gerunds, for example. They look a lot like verbs, but they don't act like them at all. In fact, they prefer to act like nouns. A gerund is a form of a verb that ends in ing that is used as a noun. As you may know, a verb is a word that refers to actions or states of being, and a noun is a word that we use to refer to people, places, things, and ideas. A gerund is like a blend of verbs and nouns. It looks like a verb, but it acts like a noun. For example, the word swimming is an example of a gerund. We can use the word swimming in a sentence as a noun to refer to the act of moving around in the water, as in the sentence, swimming is fun. When used in sentences, gerunds are treated as third-person singular nouns like he, she, and it. So basically, gerunds are formed by adding ing to the verb, for example, sleeping, drawing, swimming, etc. They are not the ing verb forms that you see in the present or past continuous tense. They look the same, but gerunds are actually verb forms used as nouns. Now coming towards identifying gerunds. We form gerunds by adding ing to the verb, for example, sleeping, eating, running, etc., as I described before as well. Gerunds are much more commonly used as subject in a sentence. For example, walking is good for your health. Walking here is a gerund. Gerunds are used after prepositions as well. For example, novels about growing up are popular among teenagers. Second example, I have an interest in becoming a professor. 3. I forgive you for not telling the truth. 4. She is thinking about trying martial arts. Number 5, I'm wary of going alone. Number 6, my mom is scared of flying. All of these are examples of gerunds when they are used after prepositions. Now coming towards infinitives. An infinitive is a verbal consisting of the word to plus a verb in its simplest stem form and functioning as a noun, adjective, or adverb. The term verbal indicates that an infinitive, like the other two kinds of verbals, is based on a verb and therefore expresses action or a state of being. However, the infinitive may function as a subject, direct object, subject complement, adjective, or adverb in a sentence. Although an infinitive is easy to locate because of the to plus verb form, but deciding what function it actually has in a sentence can sometimes be confusing. Be sure not to confuse an infinitive, which is a verbal consisting of to plus a verb, with a prepositional phrase beginning with to, which consists of to plus a noun or pronoun and any modifiers. So basically, an infinitive is the verb form that has to at the beginning. For example, to do, to sleep, to love, and to create. For example, she sleeps no longer contains the infinitive of the verb to sleep. Instead, it has been conjugated into the simple present third person form of the verb to sleep, which has been used as sleeps. Now coming towards identifying infinitives. When you describe something with an adjective, underlined in the following examples, as you can see below, an infinitive should follow, as shown in the bold. Using gerunds here would be incorrect. I will repeat the first example. It is not easy to graduate from university. You can see more examples below. Infinitives are used after certain verbs followed by nouns or pronouns. And infinitives are also used after certain verbs followed by nouns or pronouns referring to a person. For example, we asked her not to go. Further examples are below. It is also important to note the difference between using but or except while using infinitives. When but or except play a role of preposition, they need to be followed by an infinitive. For example, I had no choice but to follow her. Further examples you can see below. Differentiating between gerund and participle is also an important subject. Both a gerund and present participle come to form a verb, and both end in ing. However, each of them have different functions. The easiest way to tell the difference between the gerund and the present participle is to look for the helping verb be. If you find a form of be followed by the ing form, that's the present participle. For example, they've been working for 4 hours. If the ing form begins the sentence or follows a verb or preposition, that's the gerund. For example, playing soccer is a lot of fun. Now coming towards participle. English verbs can take several basic forms which we call their principal parts. The infinitive, for example, move, speak, etc. The past tense, moved, spoke. The past participle, for example, moved, spoken. And the present participle, for example, moving or speaking. The participles are words that take part in 2 different word classes. That is, they are verb forms that can also act like adjectives. The spoken word, a moving experience, for example. A grammatical error called a dangling participle occurs when a clause begins with a participle that doesn't modify the subject. For example, in the sentence, climbing the mountain, the cabin came in view. Here, climbing is a dangling participle since it doesn't modify cabin. When we revise the sentence to climbing the mountain, the hikers spied a cabin. Now the participle climbing modifies the subject hikers and is therefore no longer a dangling participle. So basically, a participle ends in ing like a gerund, but it does not function as a noun. Instead, they form the progressive tense of a verb. Participles can sometimes function as an adjective, but not always. Very similar to gerunds or participles. Participles are words created from verbs that are then used as adjectives to modify nouns in a sentence, as I explained before as well. They can also be used as an introduction to adverbial phrases. There are present and past participles. Present participles always end in ing and correlate to events taking place in the current tense. The past participle can be either regular or irregular and refers to events that have already happened. For example, now we're coming towards identifying participles and we'll consider some examples here as well. When using a participle as an adjective, you might come across a sentence like this. The browning fruit should be put outside for composting. Browning is a present participle here, noted by the ing ending that is modifying the noun fruit. Example number 2. I spent the whole day studying math. In this sentence, studying is a present participle that is working as the beginning of an adverbial phrase in the sentence. The phrase studying math is modifying the verb spent. Like, how did I spend the whole day? The answer is studying math. I spent the whole day studying math. Most commonly, you will see D or ED added to the end of a word. For example, he continued forward, cautioned by the desolate streets. Number 2, he continued forward, cautioned by the desolate streets. Participles can also appear as multi-part verbs. For example, Joan has been baking all morning. Joan would have been reading all morning if her grandkids hadn't said they were coming over. So this was the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for watching.